Okay, so this is just finishing up my Chelan Indivisible meeting. And so at the end, just kind of talked about people took questions or had comments, talking about what can we do once budgets hit and we don't have any state support, things we can do on the groundwork, can they change the wording of the DEI committee, and the Lake Chelan Health, their DEI committee is mostly for Spanish speaking. That's about all it covers. But their initial reaction was to change the wording of the DEI, but it's not worth it because it's in the history of the committee. They do have to be careful with quotas in order to defend their grants to the regulators. And so, matter of wording to keep their grants was kind of my understanding with that. But I know that group we're trying to figure out what direction to take with it. So I think this was really good. It was nice to see the support. Over 100 people in Chelan. That was fantastic. I did join their group for doing the hands-off rally on April 5th. And so tomorrow we are meeting to make signs and kind of establish our messaging. So with that goes into, I did join the hands-off National Day of Action webinar, and that was on March 21st. There was over 3,400 people on the webinar. At the start of it, there were 300 registered events. By the end of it, there were 500 registered events, and now there are over 800 registered events. Awesome. And that was really great. They had a couple of speakers. A lot of it was just some kind of groundwork information like that. The first speaker, I didn't catch her name, but she was a 50-51 partner from Voices of Florida. And she talked about, of course, being kind. The biggest thing with the hands-off events is exhibiting kindness, no conflict, and also be kind to yourself. Especially as any kind of activist, we all make mistakes. Give yourself grace and give each other grace. Other people, new activists, seasoned activists, we will all make mistakes in how we say something that we do. Give each other grace, help each other grow, those kind of things. So I thought that was really good. Next up was Christian from Move On. He talked about the toolkit that's offered to the hosts of Hands Off. It includes, messaging, graphics, posters, contacts for them. You can do office hours and then some additional training. Their main messaging is the greed of the Trump and Musk regime and their power grab and lawlessness, and that, these are our services, our jobs, our dollars, and hands off. Talked about having the rallies in an area with a lot of foot traffic, vehicle traffic, and then a few parts is having captains for different areas. So a logistics captain for the permits, your sound, we'll just have a bullhorn. A recruitment captain for social media and then local, recruits. A speaker captain, getting speakers if you're going to have them. We just plan to have people on the bullhorn and take turns, but planning out kind of what messaging we want to say. A safety captain who has contact with the local law enforcement and kind of overseeing the event, making sure to keep everybody in line. You're following the signals for walk and don't walk. And then a media captain, making sure there's somebody to take pictures and videos. As they said in the webinar, Pixar, it didn't happen. Which that's kind of a balance. Don't always necessarily want to record, but this is a peaceful rally. They want it to be friendly, family friendly, a joyous event. So kind of making sure it stays in that line. And then there was Nora, and she talked about safety and de-escalating, which there is a de-escalation training on April 2nd, and I'll attend that. So that was really cool. I did have to listen to it while I was working, so I missed a lot of the Q&A. At the end, I do believe that it is on YouTube. I just haven't had a chance to watch it, but I thought that was really great. I also before that, I had followed along on, so Okanogan County has a couple of different indivisibles registered. One is Indivisible OMAC, and one is Okanogan County Indivisible. And so I joined the Zoom call that they have every Wednesday for Okanogan County Indivisible. I think there was about 7 people on the call. They kind of talked about different things that were important to them. One was talking about ruralpeoplesvoice.org, wholewashington.org, talking about universal care in Washington still needs to be passed through the federal government because it will use federal funding for universal care in Washington. Something that's important. Kind of having to pick my battles at this time. And so one thing that I really wanted to find out from them is there was a office hours for Dan Newhouse in Twisp. And it was then later posted as a town hall with one of Dan Newhouse's representatives. It was posted a day before it happened, and it was from 11 to 1 on a Tuesday, middle of the day, middle of the work week. Who can attend that? And probably about 200 people did. And so I really wanted to find out, so it was a large crowd. It sounds like his representative mostly stayed in the basement of the Grange in Twisp and met with people who had either made appointments or waited in line. And so upstairs were these 200 people wanting to talk. And so they did what a lot of other people are doing and made their own town hall. And they all spoke for about 2 minutes, discussed issues that they had, said where they were from, what their issues were, and it sounds like it went really well for them. I have been posting in a lot of Wenatchee groups, OMAC groups, obviously up the Met How, those kind of things. Dan Newhouse had another one of these office hours with his representatives in East Wenatchee this week, and then in Moses Lake. I haven't heard how either one of those went, but hopefully people went and gave him hell. So they, in the Okanogan County Indivisible, they are doing a weekly sign holding in Omak and Tonasket every Sunday, and just having a good place for people to kind of gather together every week, which I think is great. And they're talking about kind of doing a local town hall. So some different ideas with them. I did share at the end just kind of about I'm trying to connect with all of the groups, find out what they're doing, and then, I really want to do some groundwork, I like trying to get information out to people, the pamphlets. I would like to make some quarter sheets of, is it important for you to have labor and delivery available in the city of Chelan? Here are some issues coming up. Call your representatives. Tell them that rural health care is important to you. So just trying to kind of figure out what is important to me for information to get out, what information is needed to get out to people. So I thought that was really good. I have just emailed with some groups. I'll get a list of that before I go on to part 3. Thanks.